We have treated what variable is. I'm trying to do a recap before I delve into this object. And I am not going to rush because this object is very delicate. It's a, it's a, is a kind of concept that is kind of not easily understood by most students. But if I go slow on the topic, I believe you should be able to understand the concept. Now, if you remember at the beginning, we talked about variable. Let's say this is a variable um, number, for example, just an example. I can assign a single item, just one item into this variable. This is a variable, and this is the data. The question is, what type of data is this? It is a number. I can also have another variable. It's still a variable. And I assigned Joshua. This is also a data. This is also a variable. And is also one item. What type of data? Is a string. And if I want to call this data, either this or this string, all I need to do is just to call the name. For example, maybe console.log var number. Just the variable without any operator in front or at the back. So just me indicating the variable name, this value, this data will be printed out on the screen. So I can say I am calling this value 10. Same goes to the next to the var name. Just stating the name without any operator in front or at the back. This will print out Joshua. So I called the data out of this variable name. Now I went further to introduce array because there are situations that you will need to store more than one data. I will still use a variable name I can call it any name, but the best practice is to give it a meaningful name that is related to the kind or the kind of data you are trying to store inside into that variable. So for me to declare this, I will need a square bracket, unlike a single item that does not need anything. So I can say 70, 80, 85, 75, 60, for example. So this is an array because it is holding more than one data. And this data, they have position. We call it index. And it starts at number index 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for me to call any data out of this array, I will have to call this variable name the array of score. Then I will put an operator, the square bracket, in front of it. Then I will indicate the index of the data I want to call out. Let's say I want to call out this 75. So I will write the index number there, and this will print out 75 for me on the screen. Now, I can also have an array of names. And I can put in names there. And so on and so forth. The same thing is applicable. If I want to call any data out here, I will indicate the name of the variable, in this case, the array of names, then the operator, the square bracket, and if I'm interested in printing Josh, I will indicate the index number 0, and this will print out Josh for me. Now, we went further into function. For us to declare a function, we use the function keyword. We give it a variable name, for example, maybe calculate average. Then the operator and the what? Curly braces. This curly braces is the block of codes. And I can now have one or more code statements within this block of code. And if I want to call this a function, all I need to do is call the name of the function, which in this case calculate average, cal average, then indicate the operator in front. So calling will now execute all these lines of code. To start from here, and it's going to end here. Now, coming to objects. There are situations where we need to store complex item. What do we mean? What do I mean by complex item? For example, a car is an object. A car has properties. Properties. For example, the color of the car. The color of the car. Is it blue? Is it red? Is it brown? Is it white? How many doors? Does it have 4 doors? 2 doors? 6 doors? So, door. Then the number of tires. We have some cars with 3 tires. Is it 3? 4 tires? In fact, some vehicles 6 tires, and so on and so forth. These are properties. Now, functions are methods. Sorry, methods are functions that belong to an object. So in this car object, a car can move. So the car can have a move function. Also the log move. It can have a break function. Also the log break. So these functions are called methods because they belong to this car object. So you can see that this car object has more information that it can store than the normal single data variable array and so on. So down the next question begging for answer is that how do we create an object? I will start with what we call object literal. Object literal. I will not go beyond this for today because we have other ways of creating objects. For example, object.create, constructor function. We will also have function factory. So different ways that we can create an object. But for now, I will just introduce object literals. Now, let's say I want to create a car object. I will declare let or var, whatever, or const car. I will assign a curly brace. This is an object just with these curly braces. So I can now say color, the property blue, comma. How many doors? This is column 4. How many tires? 4. Oh, sorry. I'm doing as if it's a string. These two are numbers. Remember, numbers are not supposed to be in double quotes. Then in some tests, you will see they will do move. Then the column. Let's say console.log. I can move. No, not semicolon, comma. Comma here, comma here. And let's say break. Console.log. I can break. If you are able to do this, that means you have created an object. So, how do I call out the data inside this object? If you remember in array, you call out the name of the array, then square bracket. But in the case of an object, you call out the name of the variable, which is in this case car, then you use the dot operator to access the property and the method. In this case, if I want to call out the value of of color, I will say car.color, and this will print out blue for me. Car.door, this will print out 4, and so on and so forth. And if I say car.move, remember it's a function, so that bracket operator must be there. So this will print out I can move. Is there any question before we go to practicalize this object?
No, sir.
Good. Let's go to the okay. Let me use the back end. Now, this is an example of an object. Okay, let me just use the one I have here, which is the one I used in the example, car. Remember the curly braces creates an object. So I can say color, blue. I can say door, 4. I can say tire, 4. I can create the function or the method console.log. I can move. Then break function, console.log, I can break. Now, if I want to just print, let me see what the car is, what was the constituent of the car. I can either just, since I'm in the backend, I can just type car and the browser will automatically print it out for me, or I can simply do console.log. Is still the same thing. So you can see now, you can see that this to move is a function, break is a function. This is a number, and a string. I would not want to go into details now, because all this means a lot. This one. And that even reminds me. Remember, okay, before I go further, let me just point out something to you guys, because it can be of help to you. Um, we treated string, and I went through this the string methods with you guys, and we have lots of them. If you want to just if you want to be able to print out to view those methods, just create a string, a variable. Let me just say name. Let me see. I think okay. Let me see whether I can still get this thing. So if I do this, don't ask me this for now anyway. I'm only trying to tell you so that you can see that you can view those methods. You can see these are the methods. But later, we'll talk about this. The length property, the last index of, the split, the to string to lowercase to uppercase, and so on. So the substring that we treated, you can see all the methods that this string can use. I can split. I think there's split inside. Yes, this is split. I can decide to split this name into different character. For example, let me see, split. But I'm going to give it how to be splitted. We have treated this one before anyway. Let me clear the console. So I just said I should just mention it to you just in case. I mean, it can come handy. So if I do console.log and I try to print what this will return to me, you will see that it has broken this string into 4 characters, which is an array. How do I know that it is an array? Because of the square bracket. I repeat, how do I know that this is an array? It is because of this square bracket. And as you can see, that now we have this string has been broken up into 4 characters. T bit index 0, O index 1, L index 2, and A index 3. The total length is 4. How did I know that This other one is an object. It's because of what? The curly braces. This is an object. And inside that, we can see the properties and also what is called the prototype. Later, we are going into this, not now. I don't want to confuse you. So this is just by the way. I just said I should, it just came to me now. Probably you are working on string and maybe you've forgotten some of the methods and properties. Just quickly create a string and do the string, the variable name dot underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. That will give you the list of properties and methods available to strings. So now, if I want to access or call out this value, all I need to do is car.color. And if I print out, it will give me blue. Same thing with door. It will give me 4. Same thing with tires. Car.tires. It's going to give me 4 as well. If I want to call this method, it's still the dot operator, the move, and the bracket for function call. That bracket operator must be there. And it will print I can move. If you do not put this bracket, it will print, it should print out the description of that function, which is what I typed in earlier. Is there any question? Is there any question?
No, sir.
Good. Now, having said this, let us say, let's try and do something practicable with this. Let's say I have a function, and I can call it, give it student data, right? And I pass the first name of the student, the last name of the student, and let me just say maybe the subject, then score. No, let me just say subject. I won't put because mass is a subject. So maybe I've computed the student score, blah blah. This is just an example. I've computed the student score, and I needed to return the student name, the subject, and the score. I can just say return an object where I will say first name is name is that, and okay, let me just differentiate this for okay, it doesn't matter. Let me just leave it because this first name is pointing. Where's my marker? Is pointing to this one here, not this one. This one is a key. Sorry, it's a property rather. And because they are the same, in some browser, I don't know whether this we accept anyway, you can just say
Yeah,
F name.
no, sorry, it was like I'm attending another meeting. Just continue, I'm with you.
David, mute yourself, please. So, but for the class, I'm going to use F name, right? Or maybe let me just put this on first name so that I'm not confused you guys. Let me just put this first name. So I will say last name here, and I will give it last name. Let me just change it to last name. Then the subject. Subject, I can say course. Then subject. Then the score. David, mute yourself. Somebody is not muted. It's David. Okay. So, is there anyone in the class who is finding this to comprehend? Is there anyone before I go further? What I wrote here, is there anyone who is finding this to understand? So that I can explain before I move on. Okay, no one. So let's say I've done maybe computation, blah, 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 before, many things could have happened before this. But at the end, I now need to call this function, right? Because I want the data to be out. So I will now pass the name of the student, maybe John, then last name, let's say Bush, subject, let's see, physics, for example, physics. Then score, let's say 89. Now, because I called this function, is going to return to me this object. So I will now kind of create a variable to hold that object. So this object will be returned, it will be assigned into the student. So I can now say console.log. I'm going to use what is called the string literal of the backtick. I'll explain this in the past class when we were talking about printing or outputting data in JavaScript. So I'm going to use that backtick. I will say student, name of student, or just a student's name, is, then I will use the placeholder, which is this student, remember, is object. object dot, if I want to access the first name, I will use the property there. First name, then the placeholder, student, dot last name, this property. The property will give me the value. Then got the score, which is student dot score in physics, the subject. No, course. That is the property. If I run this, I will have that. Let me clear the console and run again. So you can see that the student detail is printed out exactly the way I wanted it. Student's name, John Bush, got 89 in physics. This is just a very simple way. Yes. Any question? Somebody, Joshua, you are trying to say something now. Okay, maybe it's a mistake. All right. So this is just a very simple way of how to use objects. Objects, they are complex data type. They cannot just hold a number, but they hold properties and methods. Unlike array that you can access through the index, in an object, you access the data through the properties. And these are properties. F name, in this example, those are properties. Is there any question? No question.
Sir.
Good. Now, having introduced this object to you, like I said, it's just an introduction. There's still a whole lot in this object. Just like there's a whole lot in function. We are still going back to treat function in details. It is just an overview of the concept that I want you to understand. So we come back to this later. So I want you to understand those different data structures. And that is the reason why I started again from the variable that holds a single data to the variable that can hold more than one data, to the function, which also has a variable. In this case, the variable of this function is this student data. That's the variable name. And then lastly, the object. There are still other types of data, other types of data structures like the map, the sets. I'm not sure whether there's dictionary in JavaScript. I'm going to find out. But there's something called dictionary in other programming languages like C#. There's queue, there's list, and so on and so forth. They are all different kinds or types of data structure. So for now, I'm going to stop here on this object. Let me check the time. Okay, the time is fast spent. Okay. I will stop here today. I don't want to overload you with too much information. And this is my assignment. Okay, better. I will explain it, and I'm going to give you I'm going to give you maybe 2 or 3 names of names of students. Then I will give you an array of scores, right? Then you will get out the average of the student's scores. Then you use a function like this to give each of the students their data. For example, um, um, Max Mark Spencer, Mark Spencer's average. Let me just annotate it. You can do something like, Mark Spencer average score is dash. You put the number, maybe 76, for example, 76.25, for example. So you print it there, right? So this is the first name. This is the last name. This score is the average score. Average score. So invariably, I'm going to give you 3 names, or maybe 2, so that I will decide, is that 2 or 3 anyway. So I will give you the first name of the student, the first name of the student. I'm going to give you the last name of each student. Then for each of these students, maybe student 1, student 2, and student 3, first name, last name, first name, last name. And the scores, maybe I will say scores, maybe 80, 60, 55, 75, 86, 100, 99. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 10. Then this one too, we have the same 7 scores. Similarly, this one too, we have 7 scores. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 scores. So this is what I'm going to give you. This is the data. So all you need to do, write a program that will display what I just cleaned out now. For example, first name, which is Mark Spencer's, average score is maybe 76.2, just for an example, as an example. So you compute this average value from this array of scores. Is there anyone with question on the assignment? Is there anyone?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So I will give you this data on the platform. I can't give it, I can't give it to you here. I give it to you on the platform. Mhm. So by special grace of God, on Saturday we will go to event. And once we are after treating events, then we will start integrating our JavaScript with the HTML fully. So any assignment after that event lecture, we I will expect you to create an HTML structure with CSS. You style it and you put behavior on it. Remember, I said the structure is HTML, the presentation is CSS, and the behavior is JavaScript. Those three, they are together as one. All right, thank you. In the absence of any question, or is there any question?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. So see you on Saturday.